I would first like to appreciate you for being the first leader to openly name and shame the outfit that was responsible for the terrorist attacks on the Hazara community. I think that's a major achievement. And and although I belong from the majority sect, I highly appreciate that. You mentioned the war on terror. I want to know your ideology, what's the way forward when you're going to tackle these militants who are more geared towards sectarianism in Pakistan. Thank you.
Okay, now look, very quickly. In 2004, Pakistan sent its troops into tribal areas. My speech is still in the National Parliament, where I stood up and said, if Musharraf had read the history of tribal areas, he would not have made the mistake. And since then, Mohit Pirzada is sitting here, who's interviewed me several times, and others. Constantly, I kept warning them that this is a quagmire, you're going in a quicksand, dal mein phasne ja rahe ho. Because the tribal area has a history. There's a saying, those who don't learn from history are condemned to keep repeating it. Tribal areas, for your information, the Mughal Empire was a superpower. 25% of world GDP came from India at the time. 62 years, the Mughal armies got stuck in the tribal area fighting the forces of Pir-e Roshan. My grandmother was a direct descendant of Pir-e Roshan. For 62 years, Pir-e Roshan fought the Mughal army. Eventually, started at the time of Akbar, at the time of Shah Jahan, there was a political settlement in the end. Then the British, and then the Sikhs, throughout their 40 years, they were attacked from the tribal. They never pacified the tribal belt. Then came the British, 80 years. You just have to read the history. More British troops died in Waziristan than in the whole subcontinent. If you go to Waziristan, you'll still see the old graves there. So there is a history. People who do not accept, people who think they are not inferior to anyone can never be colonized. To colonize someone, the colonized must believe in their inferiority, and those who colonize must believe in their superiority. If this equation is not there, it doesn't work. So therefore, Afghanistan has never been colonized. Similarly, Pakistan's tribal area have always resisted intrusion from outside. So when Musharraf sent the Pakistan army in 2004, not understanding anything about the history, believing that his arms were superior and so on, he made some silly statements like they won't know what hit them and this is not 19 whatever. So, where there was no militant Taliban in Pakistan, in 2 years of collateral damage, where they were bombing villages, which is what armies do, they bombed, because how could they tell? There was no army in the tribal area, they were just militants in villages. So when they bombed villages, they used helicopter gunships to raid villages, then artillery. 20 kilometers away, it was firing shells into villages. 2 years of the slaughter, collateral damage produced the Pakistani Taliban. You know, when they talk about cutting throats and all that, there's a history behind it. What if, your family is killed by a bomb? As if bombs can only, as if drones, when they drop a bomb, the shrapnels know which is a terrorist and which is a civilian. And remember, these are villages. So therefore, we produced a reaction. There was a civil war. They killed all the Maliks. And then because it was Taliban versus the American, and Pakistan army was supposed to be fighting on behest of the American, they started calling themselves Taliban. Today, and of course, in the between, when each time I tried to tell them that to have a political settlement, I ended up being branded as Taliban Khan. Now today, just in North Waziristan, there are 31 militant groups. Just in North Waziristan. All along the 7 agencies, there are different groups. So, step 1, disengage from the US war. It will take away the motivation of our tribal people. Because as long as they think it is jihad, there will always be recruits from within the tribal area, because the moment the army reacts, collateral damage, to seek revenge, they go and join the other side. This is a never-ending war. Pakistan is wasting 90 billion rupees a month on this war. 90 billion a month. Imagine the whole education and health budget of Punjab, which is 100 million people, is about 60 billion. So 90 billion a month is going down the drain on this war. And what's more, it's radicalizing our population. There's more extremism today in Pakistan than ever in our history. So disengage, win the people of tribal areas to your side. We did the Waziristan march only for this. We went there because 80% of people from South Waziristan are now living on the peripheries. They've left Waziristan. So win the people over to your side, they will win the war. Not the Pakistan army. Withdraw the Pakistan army. And Pakistan army should own and start a massive truth and reconciliation in the tribal belt. Fraction of the money we are wasting on the army, we should spend on development, truth and reconciliation, and the army should only be at the service of people of tribal area to help them if they are irreconcilable elements. This is the only way. I'm telling you right now, it's the only way to win a war. No other party has this. We are the only party that has a very clear agenda how to win it. And by the way, PTI is by far the most popular party in the tribal belt.